Hello all. Hello all. A very good evening. Welcome to Sakshi TV's special immigration talk show with attorney Dr. Srinivas Kaveti. I am Preeti Milbagal, your host for the show. Our today's guest is a very well-known, multifaceted, accomplished international attorney who studied law in various countries like India, Australia, England, and United States, catering to the diversified clientele across the globe. Dr. Kaveti is opening multiple offices in September, including Secunderabad and Dubai. Dr. Kaveti, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So our today's topic, which is EB-5 Regional Center, regarding EB-5 Regional Center. So please throw some light on how and when and if anybody can start a regional center. మన ఇండియన్స్ లో చాలా క్రేజ్ ఉంది అండ్ we've been doing this and quite a few Indians would want to do this because green card తెచ్చుకోవాలి అంటే కూడా this is one of the processes అని కూడా బాగా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఉంది మన దగ్గర. So would you be able to give us some light as in what is an EB-5 regional center?
Okay, very interesting topic. These days, a lot of IT company owners and a lot of Indians or Southeast Asians, including Japanese or Chinese, a lot of people are, coming up together, teaming up, and they're starting EB-5 regional centers. First of all, we need to understand, what is a targeted area, what is a rural area, what is a non-targeted area. See, immigration has a policy that if you're bringing any business into this country, or if you're investing substantial amount, or if you're creating employment, the purpose is that you're targeting certain areas where there is, high unemployment. And those are targeted areas in America. And the second is non-targeted, is like rural areas. These are the two basic, things we need to understand when people are trying to set up a regional center. So when people are starting up businesses, it could be a real estate business, it could be a motels, it could be restaurants, it could be any business where they are starting up an enterprise, a new commercial enterprise. That's the word which is used in the legislation. If you're starting up a new business commercial enterprise, it could be a corporation, it could be a joint venture, it could be an LLC, it could be any of those. And tomorrow you're coming it as a private and then you're going in public as well. So for example, if you're starting a company and as an investor, for example, if somebody is on an L1 or an H1B, they have some idea, they have money. So they're starting with a new business enterprise. And they can also, as a promoter, they can also apply. They can also start an EB-5 center, a regional center with their idea. And they can also go in public and get some investors to invest in their enterprise. And they can also apply for a green card. And even people who are investing into that EB-5 regional center can also invest money and apply for a green card. So as I told you, the first thing is people need to understand the targeted areas where there's a high unemployment rate and rural areas. And, the immigration has classified these areas and you can find out online which are these areas by Google search. And if you're investing money in those areas, then you have to go back to the immigration and make an application requesting the immigration to notify your enterprise as a regional center. Typically they're taking 8 to 17 to 18 months. And for making an application with the regional center, with the USCIS, the immigration fees is about 17,000 and change. I mean, you have to pay the fees to the immigration and they're taking the applications. They will take 8 to 18 months time for processing your application as a promoter, because you might have money, you might have an idea, but if you want to generate more than 10 people employment in a notified area, I mean, there are so many compliances to be done. There are compliances for state law purposes. There are compliances for federal law purposes. There are compliances for security exchange. For example, if you're starting up a regional center, that means you're raising money from public. When you're raising money from public, that means you're accountable, you're giving some stocks. So that means a Security Exchange Commission will come in play. That means you're raising investment from people, and you will have to have a separate account called an escrow account. And what is the rate of return? Are you going to return this money, or is it a risky investment? Because you're raising public money and they're investing money in your enterprise. And because they're investing money in your enterprise, they can apply for a green card. They can apply, means, husband and wife and children can apply for a green card. I mean, the fees for itself is more than $11,000. I mean, it takes 2 to 3 years to get a conditional green card for an investor. So the moment you used word investor, do they have to hire a brokers? Because do they have to have, you know, does the investors have to have a due diligence? Do they need to have hire a broker and check it out whether this fund, whether this regional center, what is their background and who are the
Sure.
promoters? I mean, the immigration law says that anybody who starts a regional center, they want the promoters to be U.S. citizens. They want the controlling partners to be U.S. citizens. Why? Because to make them accountable. Tomorrow, you're raising millions of dollars and you're promising the investors that you will, that you will make some money and return the investment. And you're having an escrow agents, you're having CPAs, you're having corporate attorneys, and you're complying with the Security Exchange Commission. And you're also, of course, giving reports to the immigration, because immigration also does a lot of audits. They want to see whether you're complying the law, because you're taking the public money and you're taking the loans, either from banks or from private investors, or from even some third party angel investors. So you're taking the public money. That means you're taking that money as a trustee, as an escrowee, and you're running this business. You're promising the government, the federal government and state, saying that you're going to have more than 10 people, and you're making an assurance to the investor that that there is a rate of return. You will give the money back, the principal and the interest, or even the dividends. So there is a lot of obligation on the promoters of these, to the federal government, to the state, because it is a stock you're issuing to them. Then because you're issuing a stock to these investors, those are investing. People could be a student who are investing, people could be an H-1B, people could be on a visit, people can be any non-immigrants who are investing money. The question comes is now where this money is coming from. I mean, those have to be a lawful resources. That means there is an obligation on the investors, that where they're getting this money from. Are they taking loans? Where this money came from? Did they get any gifts, or is anybody else is sending money from overseas? They have to comply the law. How they're getting this money? They have to show that they have tax returns for 2 or 3 years, and source of funds. And if they're getting money by selling any property, they have to show 3 years of tax returns. They have to show the bank statements, and those have to be legitimate funds. You cannot launder the money and get the money. They have to disclose where the money is coming from, and bank statements, tax returns. So because it's a corporate immigration, and people are getting their green card in 2 to 3 years, and you're taking the public money and you're telling the government, US government, and for the state and other agencies, that you're going to return the money. So there is a lot of obligation on you, on the regional guys, those are promoters, that you have to hire business consultants, you have to hire chartered CPAs, you have to hire corporate attorneys, you have to hire immigration attorneys, you have to hire escrow agents, you have to have some brokers. See, there is and you have to file all these documents to the immigration, because they're going to come back and say, oh, okay, we're going to give you permission as a regional center. So what compliances are you going to do? How are you going to how are you going to do the recruitment? I mean, are you going to generate direct employment or indirect employment? And when you're saying direct employment or indirect employment, they have to be more than 2 to 3 years. Let's say when they're saying direct employment, they have to hire green card holders, they have to hire citizens, they could even hire non-immigrant workers. And indirectly, let's say you're building up a hotel, and that hotel could be a five-star hotel or a seven-star hotel or any sort of resorts. So you're creating an employment, more than 50 to 100 people. How you're creating these guys? And you got to show to the government, to the immigration. The immigration is also going to do the compliance. That it's not that you cannot say that, okay, I'm building this hotel, that I'm going to hire some construction workers. This motel is going to take 2 years of time. You're creating an indirect employment, of course, for the construction workers, for the building team, or plumbers, electricians, or general contracting company, architects, all those professions. It's not indirect employment. They have to be direct employment. So there is an obligation on the regional center. So you got to do these compliances to the government so that you can get a permission to raise money, and so that once your regional center is approved by the immigration, then you can invite for a call that investors can come and invest. And you also have an obligation to show how much you have invested as a promoter of this, and then how much money you're raising from public. So all those compliances have to be done. It's a very complex process, and the reason we have done a lot of research, because a lot of Indians are now developing real estate properties in Texas and in many areas in India. In US, they're buying properties and they're raising money, especially these IT companies, and especially those who are IT programmers, those who made money in this country for 10 to 15 years. Everybody has some sort of saving. I mean, if somebody has $400,000, $500,000, you don't have to have $1 million. You don't have 800, 900,000. You can also raise loans. That's the beauty of this. And there are third-party guys who are giving loans, and you can also take some loans and invest in this fund. So
You
thereby you can.
mentioned
Sorry.
something about targeted employment area and non-targeted employment area. Could you explain that in a little deeper way, please?
Well, targeted employment area means where there is unemployment is very high. And there is a formula by the statistics by the Department of Labor. Every state and every county and every place, it is all designated by the Department of Labor, and Department of Statistics is there. You got to do research. What is a targeted area and what is a rural area? I mean, rural areas where there is no unemployment, but when you're investing money in rural areas, then the investment has to be more than $1 million for the investors. If you're doing unemployment where the targeted unemployment areas are high, you have to invest 800,000. So that's the comfort where people have. So they have to, investors have to do their due diligence, and the other biggest thing is you have to see whether promoters, what are the background of promoters? Have they done any projects like this before? Have they been successful in completing such projects? Have they returned the money? And what are the background of these promoters? There are so many brokers you can hire. They will do all the due diligence, and they can, I mean, of course, the brokers will charge you, There are many attorneys and many CPAs also are licensed brokers. They can get some information to the investors. And in terms of, they will also help you in terms of which are targeted areas, which are non-targeted areas. All of that, these guys will help us. So it is better to take some help from qualified professionals. It's not just go and do a chat GPT or Google for this. Many investors who are investing from overseas and people who are always already there in the country. See, people from overseas can also invest. People from Dubai, they invest. People from India, Pakistan, anywhere in the world, they invest. I mean, there are a lot of investors from Japan, they come. A lot of investors are coming from China, Korea, and all of that. So, you have to see whether the regional centers have they completed the projects in the past, what is the, economic model they're having. And the other thing is what is the rate of return, which is exit strategy, and what sort of calculations they are giving in terms of rate of return and in terms of their track record. Even what are the immigration track approval from particular regional centers. So one has to do all those research, and those are the frequently asked questions by the investors. And look at the business plan. That is the critical thing. Most of the times, you can ask what is their business plan and what geographic area. And the other thing is, how these guys are having the methodology and what sort of jobs they're going to create. Are they temporary jobs? Are they part-time jobs? Are they permanent jobs? Are they going to be more than 2 years, 3 years? All of that. So the other thing is the compliance procedures, because these regional centers, these promoters have to come up with policies, and in terms of anti-fraud policies, what they have, in terms of fraud prevention, and in terms of what are their backgrounds. These guys who have started all these compliance things, have one has to do some research, thorough research, before they invest money, because your money is locked for a few years. So those are the things one have to check it out.
So how are the jobs I know you talked about this, but how are they actually created and counted in an EB-5 regional center projects?
Right. For example, if somebody is building a motel or a hotel, they're having restaurants in that. They might have some outlets. They will, how this hotel, which is going to be there, and it's going to create employment. Are they just saying that, okay, we're going to create 200 people employment for construction purposes? Now, after construction, once the project takes off, for example, if you're starting up a hotel, they have to hire restaurant bartenders, they have to hire chefs, they have to hire plumbers, they have to hire cleaners, housekeeping guys, they have to hire waiters, they have to hire accountants, they have to hire IT guys, marketing guys. There's so many jobs. They have to see the organizational structure and what sort of people they're going to recruit. And are these jobs going to be temporary or permanent? Are they going to be a part-time or a full-time? See, when you see the business model of a hotel or a restaurant, if they're starting up a hotel in a highway, so they will have to, one who's investing have to see. The promoters have to come with a manual, job creation methodology. They have to submit all these documents to the immigration as well, and they have to furnish this information to the investors, and they have an obligation. And for example, because they're raising money, and they have to even give information, they have to do compliance with Security Exchange Commission. So somebody who's a corporate lawyer or a CPA, somebody is a financial advisor, you have to hire all those things, all those people, when you want to get some information, because it's a very complex.
Okay. So is there a certain number of jobs that you need when you establish such kind of a project? And also, what is something called direct jobs and indirect jobs?
Right. As I explained to you, it has to be more than 10 people. It can be as number more than 10 in targeted areas. And the other thing is, as I said to you, direct and indirect. For example, you're starting a restaurant, right? And when you're having a restaurant or a hotel, the indirect jobs are, you will say that you always need some construction going on or some maintenance. Let's say some electricians or some plumbers or even handyman you could have. There are some indirect jobs, like you're hiring some seasoned waiters. For example, there are some seasons the business is very high, summertime or some festive time. For example, during the Christmas times or some festive times, you're hiring some temporary workers. They're going to, you got to look at all of that, which are direct and indirect jobs. And sometimes there's some events you're hiring some people for a few days, for even for a few months. So you're creating some indirect jobs as well. For example, you're creating jobs for people who will come and do the supply in terms of supply chain or logistics. For example, you get some orders and the hotel wants to do catering, so you're hiring some people for logistics. So things like that. So direct and indirect jobs.
Yeah. And what is the form that is used to file EB-5 regional center?
I mean, for the application for the regional center, it's Form I-956, and the fees is about 17,000 change. It's a very complex form, and it requires a lot of evidences. And in terms of organizational structure, business plan, in terms of compliances, and rate of return, and who's the attorney, who's the CPA, and who are the business consultants, business plan, all of that. And in terms of the investors who want to make an application, one, this is approved by the immigration. The in terms of investors, those who want to get in a green card, the form is Form I-526, and the fees for that is more than 11,160. I mean, I would recommend that people, or your audience who are watching this, don't just take this as an advice, just only in information purposes. They should go back and check up the forms, because these forms are changing quite often, and even fee structures are changing quite often. So when people are doing it, let them go back and find out the latest fee structure, and the processing times are changing, and there are so many changes are happening during the present administration. A lot of audits are being done by the immigration, and I mean, the beautiful part is, Pritiji, that there are the immigration has published which are the successful regional centers and which are not successful also. So one has to do their own due diligence and see which are successful regional centers, which are, I mean, most of the time there are hundreds of regional centers in every state, in every city, and they have to find out which are
How,
successful, which have a track record.
how and where can they check the authenticity of these regional centers?
It is there in the USCIS website, and we have to do our own due diligence as well. If you, for example, if you see Dun and Bradstreet is a big company in America, if you subscribe to them and you say, "Hey, I have this regional center, I want to know the due diligence," they will do due diligence. They'll charge you, and they will tell you whether is it a good company, whether the promoters have a good track record and everything. How much of money invested, what is there, they will give you everything. But one has to invest money and do their due diligence, instead of just going emotional. Oh, I know this guy who started. Oh, I know this Gujarati guy or a Telugu guy. Oh, they're great. Don't do things like that. Invest some time and money, due diligence, and then invest, so that your money will be safe. And because initially the immigration only gives a temporary green card, conditional one, Once the project takes off, then you can apply for a removal of conditions. These all process take 3 to 4 years even. But the beauty is once you make an application for the temporary one, your application gets approved. You can even apply for a work authorization or travel permit and everything. You and your family, everybody can get all the benefits. So that is a beauty in this.
So does an EB-5 investor need to hire a broker or a dealer?
That's what I said. It is better to investor a broker or a dealer because there are accredited brokers and dealers are there in Security Exchange Commission, and by doing a due diligence, you can find there are some lawyers are also there, and you can also verify their license, through a Security Exchange Commission, and they can give you some financial advices because these are people who have completed their series exams. They're licensed people, so approach them. Don't go through. There are so many unlicensed people. Many times, people even lost relying on the representations or advices by taking advices from unlicensed brokers or dealers. So we urge that they should contact and hire them, pay them, find out the good ones, brokers and dealers, and invest money.
Seems to be a very complicated and a complex project, which is very time consuming and energy consuming. So we really appreciate your time, Kaveti Garu. And before we close, so is there any other suggestion that you would want to give it to our viewers?
Yeah, buyer be aware. And a lot of students also, they call our firm. And I mean, it's even if you're a student or a visitor or an H1B or an L1, any non-immigrant person who's in the country, they can apply, they can invest. And the other thing is that anybody who's watching overseas, they can also invest, and from anywhere in the world. The applications, when you make it, when you're making an application, if you want to adjust your status in the country, you will get adjustment here in US. There'll be an interview by the USCIS for the promoters and for the investors and for as well as the regional center promoters. And somebody wants to get a green card from overseas, they will also notify the consulates overseas. They can also obtain this facility, get a green card from overseas and come into the country. So it's both ways. So the processing time is 8 to 12 months, and sometimes it takes longer. They can check up even the processing times online in USCIS website and even in Department of State website. So get yourself, be aware, and don't be tricked by the con artists. There's so many people who are running these YouTubes and Facebook and even Instagram, channels and other things. So get in touch with authentic immigration attorneys anywhere in the country. And we're not trying to solicit by this episode. Get in touch with this only for educational purposes. Get in touch with some qualified attorneys who does this EB-5 category and protect your interest.
Thank you so much, Kaveti Garu, for your valuable time and your valuable insights on the subject. And dear viewers, please note that this is not an investment advice and it is purely educational. And please contact the respective attorneys and hire a dealer, as Kaveti Garu mentioned, in order to move forward on this EB-5 Regional Center. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Preeti.